How do you measure a life? Or better yet, how do you measure a Best Picture winner at the Oscars?
A soliloquy for every movie. From Casablanca, Tommy Boy. He's here, it's him. It's Andrew Toy. It's Andrew Toy.
Like, it just seems so random, doesn't it? Like, take, for example, One Battle After Another just took home the gold for Best Picture. And it was up against Sinners. For a lot of people, that was quite the upset. But for I think everybody, that was quite a surprise.
I, for one, was shocked.
Holy moly, blown out of the water. And for another example, how is the Full Monty expected to hold up when it's put up against Titanic, Good Will Hunting, and LA Confidential? The scales just seem really off kilter. Like, how in the world are you supposed to compare those films? It's like having to pick out your favorite color. Well, it depends. Like, are we talking about the color of a house or the color of my cat's fur? I like blue, but I don't want my cat to be blue. And to take it a step further, we've got to wonder why in an official environment will we never see Citizen Kane pitted against The Empire Strikes Back? You know, like what Jeopardy does with its Tournament of Champions. They bring back all the winners to compete against each other, so that's how you can find out who the ultimate winner is. In this video, I'm going to challenge some of the Academy's standard operating procedures. Because if the Oscars are supposed to support the Best Picture of the year, then we should probably make sure the system actually finds it. So first, before we get into that, let's talk about how the Academy Awards actually does pick Best Pictures. Because once you understand the system, a lot of the more bizarre winners start to make a little bit more sense. And also a little bit less sense. You probably already know that the organization behind the Oscars is the Academy... You probably already know that the organization behind the Oscars is the Academy of
Do you want me to help? Do you want me to hold up cue card?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And it's not even that hard. The Academy of Motion Arts and Sciences. I just said it.
They're not scientists.
Well, that's what they call themselves.
They're a bunch of uppity fools.
Liberal scientists.
Christian Scientology.
Yeah. You probably already know that the organization behind the Oscars is the Academy of Arts and Social Science. Son of a bitch.
It really offends your daughter when you say that, so you need to stop saying it.
Sorry. Most of you probably already know that the organization behind the Oscars...
I need help. There's a bug. I need you to come here now. Quick, it keeps jumping.
Okay.
It's right here where I'm pointing. Stop! And get up! When I ask you to get a bug, you need to not be goofing off like that.
You probably already know that the organization behind the Oscars is the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which is made up of around 10,000 industry professionals. So then directors vote for director nominees, actors vote for actor nominees, editors vote for editing nominees, and so on. Basically, every branch nominates its own category, but Best Picture is different. For Best Picture nominations, all Academy members vote. And they don't just vote for one film, they rank their favorites. If a movie gets enough first place votes, the movie is nominated. If not, the Academy uses a redistribution system where votes from eliminated films get transferred to the next ranked choice. This is a version of preferential voting, also called ranked choice voting. Then, once the nominees are chosen, the Academy votes again to pick the winner, also using ranked choice. Blah, sounds like November! Elections. And this is where things get interesting, because the system doesn't reward the most beloved movie. It rewards the least hated movie. In other words, a film that everyone thinks is pretty good can beat a film that half the voters think is an absolute masterpiece, which, if you think about it, explains a lot. Take the 2003 Oscars, where Chicago was the winner. Now, don't get me wrong, Chicago is a fine film. No, it's not. But if you look at IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, those two scoring sites shows a very different side of the story. Movies like Spirited Away, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and The Pianist were actually ranked much higher by the audience. On IMDb, for example, Chicago ranked at about number 12 for that year, while those other films were near the top. So that begs the question, what happened? Musicals do tend to play well with the Academy voters, but more importantly, Chicago was the safest consensus pick. Everyone liked it, even though not everybody loved it. But overall, it was the film least likely to offend people, which is kind of why I won Prom King, because nobody actively disliked me.
Pretty hard.
But depending on who you ask, that's probably not the most inspiring victory. Preferential voting often has one big side effect, which means it often favors the middle of the road movies. You know, the movies that are well made, respectable, prestigious, but they're not necessarily groundbreaking. Best Picture winners rarely are. Like, look at the year 2020. Parasite took home the Best Picture award. Now, while that was a very good movie, can you honestly tell me that Parasite was better than Jojo Rabbit? Or Joker, or Little Women, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Ford v. Ferrari?
I don't think so.
Well, let's go back to the year of my birth, 1983, when Gandhi won. As fine as a movie as that was, is that really better than E.T. or Tootsie even? Now, obviously, these choices can be debated until Trump wins the Iran war. Nobody can possibly say with any ounce of conviction that Shakespeare in Love is better than Saving Private Ryan. And if you want a full breakdown of that, check out this video here where I walk through that whole night in 1999. Or what about 2016 when Spotlight beat out Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, The Revenant? Those, especially Fury Road, are extremely experimental films that push the boundaries of imagination and possibility within a film. Or what about the year Green Book won? I mean, who even saw that? But then again, who even saw anything that was nominated that year? Bohemian Rhapsody was up that year. A Star is Born, super random. Black Panther, which was a good enough movie. But, you know, there was nothing worthy of a Best Picture. I don't remember what came out in 2018, but I could tell you anything that wasn't nominated for Best Picture was a lot better than this list they give us here. But again, all these movies that won Best Picture aren't necessarily terrible movies. I mean, it's not like we're watching Joker 2 take home the gold, right? So that's good. But were they really the best films of the year? Or were they the ones that voters felt more comfortable putting at number 2 on their list? Because in a ranked ballot system, being everyone's second favorite can sometimes beat being half the room's absolute favorite.
I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve.
But that begs the question, how can the Oscars do this better going forward? If the goal really is to reward the actual best picture of a given year, there might be better systems we could put into play. So for example, here are a few possibilities. Option 1, the critics and Academy hybrid. Right now, the Oscars are voted on only by industry professionals, which is great, but it also creates an industry bubble. And I think you've been around long enough to know that there really is a Hollywood bubble that seems to be impenetrable from the real world. So one solution would be a hybrid vote. Imagine the final Best Picture vote being determined by 50% Academy voters, 25% major film critics, 25% audience scores. That way, you'd balance industry craftsmanship, critical analysis, and general audience opinions. Because if a movie is genuinely loved by all three groups, it's probably got something going for it. Option 2, we can go the Hunger Games route and do tournament style. Tournament style. Or a tournament bracket, not unlike March Madness. Imagine the 8 Best Picture nominees facing off head to head in a voting round. And then you have quarterfinals and you have semifinals. I know it's a bit much, but they can make money by elongating this sort of a competitive style. In each matchup, voters simply choose the best option. That way, there's no ranking, there's no mathematic gymnastics, just simply the games you've played on Facebook before. What's the last movie standing? And going back to that March Madness analogy, it would be wildly entertaining. Imagine a matchup like Dark Knight versus Slumdog Millionaire, or La La Land versus Moonlight.
This is not a joke. Moonlight has won Best Picture. Moonlight.
With that scenario, with enough practice and enough time, the Oscars could eventually turn into the Super Bowl for film buffs. Another method would be a point system. Each voter rates every nominee on a scale of 1 to 10. Then you average the scores, and that way the movie with the highest score wins. And I like this system because it rewards passion. If a film is truly exceptional, voters can give it 10 points. If they hate it, but there were some redeeming qualities, they could give it a 2 or a 3. And that way, the final score reflects just how people feel, instead of just ranking things like a grocery list. Option 4, the long-term test. Okay, this is the wildest idea, but I'm just going to throw it out there because I think it could work within the Academy Award system they're playing today. This system actually begs the question, how many Oscar winners actually withstand the test of time? 5 years later, we usually know the movies people still talk about. Which ones still get watched? Which ones still influence filmmaking? Which ones do people still quote on a daily basis? Which one has created the most memes, for crying out loud? Sometimes the real winner only becomes obvious after the hype fades down. Like, for example, do you remember the Best Picture winner, Ordinary People? Neither do I. And that won in 1980. I don't think many people are going to say that movie withstood the test of time, because honestly, what the hell is that? So just imagine, for 5 minutes of the Academy Awards ceremony, the Academy looks back and says, in hindsight, which film from 2019 is still being talked about the most these days? And I could tell you, every single year the result would be different. At the end of the day, the Oscars aren't about finding a mathematically perfect winner. They're about celebrating movies and starting arguments. Very subjective arguments, I might add. Art isn't a sport. As much as I wish it was, then I would be cooler than I am now. There's no scoreboard, there's no stopwatch, no referees calling foul on bad screenplays, although we really do need that. No matter what system we abide by, picking the best movie of the year is always going to end up being a bit messy, and people's feelings are always going to end up getting hurt. But if the Academy really wants the title of Best Picture to mean something, then maybe the process should reward the movies that people actually love, not just the ones that everybody politely agrees on for the moment. And honestly, if nothing else, the Oscars should at least give us the one thing we've always wanted: a cinematic showdown for the ages. That's right, I'm talking Citizen Kane versus Empire Strikes Back, Titanic versus The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, Forrest Gump versus Kramer. That's got about as many verses as a Bible. Or here's a good one, Beauty and the Beast versus Frost Nixon. Which one would win in that battle? Yes, friends, I'm telling you, there was a time when animated movies could be included in the Best Picture nomination. Subscribe to the channel because I'm going to gripe about the animated movie category with the Academy Awards. In the meantime, go ahead and hop back on Reddit and complain about the movies that win all the awards. Thanks for watching, and let me know what system you think would work the best, and I'll see you in the next video.
Eight, 16, 24. So how many times do you have 16? Eight, so you have to get to 24. So 20 minus 16. Can you stop making
Sure. Bada boom. God, is that the dryer or is it a missile? Holy. Bada boom.